So in just 2 days, we get to 2026, and a big new law is going into effect in the state of Minnesota. Paid family leave, a crown jewel for Democrats, a headache for a lot of business leaders. It's going to allow most workers to take up to 20 weeks of paid leave for major life events or medical issues. Danny is in St. Paul tonight with a closer look on what this big law is going to mean for a lot of people. Hey, Danny.
Hey, Jana, you can actually apply for paid leave in Minnesota right now. The state, in a little bit of a surprise, announced today that they're ahead of schedule. They opened the application portal on the state website a couple of days early before the new year. This was a signature achievement of Governor Walz and the DFL-controlled legislature, the so-called trifecta, back in 2023. But many business groups still have concerns about how it's going to work. Nestled inside the St. Paul airport, the restaurant Holman's Table has been serving customers since January 2018.
8 years, yeah, yep.
But when the calendar flips to 2026 this week, owner Troy Redding must navigate one of his biggest changes yet.
This one's pretty significant, yes.
Starting Thursday, almost all workers in Minnesota will be eligible to take 12 weeks of family leave, 12 weeks of medical leave, or 20 weeks for a combination of both. Funded by a payroll tax, the program covers employers of all sizes, whether they have thousands of workers or just 50, like Holman's Table.
We're a small, independent business, and with all legislation being lumped in with large companies, our means are different.
But the Walz administration says the new law will expand paid leave to hundreds of thousands of Minnesota workers who didn't previously have these benefits through their jobs.
We want to make sure this program is very accessible and easy to use for workers.
After a soft launch in late November, Department of Employment and Economic Development Commissioner Matt Varilek says applications for 2026 leave are now open for everyone.
This is a very exciting development for us, something we've been building towards for a long time.
The program covers a range of groups, including new parents, people caring for sick relatives, or those who need medical treatment themselves. Supporters of the policy include labor groups, the AARP, and the Children's Defense Fund.
Paid family and medical leave will help ensure that parents and caregivers are able to be present for these moments.
However, business groups such as the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce have called the paid leave program a one-size-fits-all mandate.
I think there should be more flexibility.
At Holman's Table, Troy Redding says he supports his employees having some form of paid leave.
But having it being a government entity, I struggle with that.
This program will cover partial wages for people who take leave. It's anywhere from 55 to 90% of the wages, depending on income. So it's a little complicated, and there's a calculator on the state website if you are considering applying for leave in 2026. Minnesota will be the 13th state in the country with some kind of state-run paid leave program when this really actually goes live later this week. Jana.
All indications from those other states that have tried it. Has it been a slow rollout with hiccups, or has it gone smoothly?
You know, for the most part, I think state officials in Minnesota are pretty confident in what they've seen in other states. In fact, one of the top people who worked on the program here in Minnesota was hired from Massachusetts, where he'd been a top leader there in implementing their paid leave program. So they feel that there's a template in other states, and they believe that they're ready here for the rollout.
All right, all eyes on Minnesota to get this one right. Danny, we thank you. We'll be right back.